World War II lasted more than 4 years and claimed more than 100 million lives worldwide. Some of the participants in that war were my parents, my father and my mother, who went through this war from beginning to the end. Everyone has their own destiny, and it cannot be changed. We are like travelers in the night, raving about fate. This is the fate I want to tell you about. This is the story begin in 1948 in a great country that no longer exists. Perhaps telling this story, it will help you and tell you something about the life I live and led. I'm Alex Spector, and this is not an emblemished story of my life. I was born 3.5 years after the war is finished in Republic of Moldova. 70% of the city was demolished, so people wouldn't have where to live. It was very, very volatile and tough. My father and my mother met in the tram back to the city where we was living. My father finished the war in Japan, and my mother was returning from Siberia to Chisinau. And they started talking, and they find out that they are actually from one city and actually from one area. And my father didn't wait too long. My mother, they decided to marry in 1947. So the war was very tough, and this toughness affected my mother. I was born in 1948, 700 grams and premature 7 months. And everybody was, saying I wouldn't survive. And my auntie, great auntie, Rosa, picked up me because I was too small, and quick make it for me a small, shirt and put it in a shoebox. This was my first cradle. My father was a musician, and he read to me books and play music. By 10 months old, I was start to speak. The 50s was education, books and stories what my father and my mother told me. Make me a person who think a lot about life. My father was very tough man. He born in Moldova and grew up in Moldova, and the war, when it started, he was 20 years old. 3 times he was shot down and burning in the plane. One time he was shock-waved. One time he was wounded. He was in Stalingrad. He was caught by German and was put in a concentration camp, where he found out he wouldn't survive too long because he was a Jew. During the war, make my father very mentally sick. And when he was drinking, he was getting wild because he started to hallucinating the war during the night, and we kids was very scared, and my mother was actually taking us, and we have to running to my grandmother. I probably couldn't understand exactly what is happening, but I knew my mother was telling me my father was a good man, all right? And the war, during the war, see so many deaths and the stress what is going on, it's make my father sick. He was actually mentally sick. And my mother tried always to ask to understand what he don't want to do that one. But it's not him, it's the illness. The school was not far from us, and my mother enrolled me in the school. I was 7 years old, and my first teacher was Olga Nikolaevna. And this was very happy days from the beginning. But a Russian school was a difficult school because everything was connected with politics. And the teachers was pushed by the principal to spy for the kids, to ask difficult question, and to report everything to the school. And that's what, after 2 years, I lost the teacher. She had to resign because she wouldn't do this one, and she was sacked. That was very, very touching for myself. I had a problem, what I discovered when I was 8 to 9 years old. If somebody will take me by my hand, arm, left or right, and just pushing a little bit, so my arm was coming out from the shoulder. And so we went to the doctors, and the doctors say, this will probably, because he was very weak boy and born like that one, so sport will help me to getting over that one. So in 1962, I start training in wrestling. Every second day, I was on the stadium and fell in love with wrestling. And my arm becoming, very strong, better, didn't come out. And slowly, I start to progressing. My coach, Nikita Vasilievich, said, Alex, you have a talent to wrestling. And I can tell you, you will achieve a lot of things if you will devote yourself to wrestling. 7 years I was, in wrestling, and I achieved a lot of things. I became a champion of Moldova 3 times. I became a champion of international competitions. Wrestling was very good with me. I was then put it in on the payroll, so the state was paying me for wrestling. But not always it was going fine. When I won the championship first of Moldova, I won a special Olympic suit. And to wearing this suit in the state on this time, it was something only a sign that you are very successful and on a high level sportsman. When I stand up and was I called to receive my medal, the Minister of Sport who was presenting me say on me close to my ear, we're not gonna give you the suit now because we have a problem with you. I couldn't understand why. So when I came to his office, I say, your name is Alex? I say, yeah. But he say, in your passport it's a different name. It's a Jewish name, Strulik. I say, yes, but everybody call me Sasha, Alex. He said, it's not good enough. And he told me, you can't represent Moldova with the Jewish name. You have to change the name. In 1967, I have to have prescription to go to army. Because my coach was organizing for me to stay in the state, because I was a national team. So we start to training for the Olympic Games 4 years before. And then it started the war in the Middle East, 6-day war, 1967. And I was sent to the sergeant school, nuclear rocket weaponry. In Latvia, I got a position, senior sergeant in a special squad who was, supply the fuel for the nuclear rockets. And what it's more, we connect the warheads, that's, nuclear atomic warheads, and we fill it up, the nuclear rockets, with fuel. And we was waiting for the order from Kremlin and get the target to shoot. This was how we was calling 5 minutes preparation. We was all stunned, but we can't do nothing. Thanks God, we didn't receive the targets, and we have a luck, but nobody was killed. And this, the war, it didn't start. So after the army, I come back to Russia, and we start to thinking what we're gonna do. So we start to organize a band, 6 pieces band plus a separate singer, and we start to advertising for the gigs. And I was very good in singing Vladimir Vysotsky. I was a big fan of him, and I was actually had approximately the same voice. Я вышел просто погулять, вздохнуть всей грудью освежить. So I start to sing these songs and other songs, and we get very popular. Быстрее решил я возвратиться на остановку. But it was a problem, because every day to be on stage like in Moldova, it was very dangerous. Dangerous in a way, because the girls was attacking you. You become a star. They don't need a big star, you become a star. It was amazing. So my mother said, Alex, you have to stop it. You have to find a girl permanently, not have to, every day new girls. And sometimes even you ask me, who call? You can't remember who is this. And then on one gig, I met my wife, to-be. She was, a young, beautiful girl. We started dating, in a month's time I say, would you marry me? And she was, stunned and say, yes. And we went married. A kalte Nacht, a Nebeldicken, finster im steht ein Jüngele vertreuer, tinken sich I was very, very lucky to have my wife like she was. And I had 2 boys, Mark and Arthur. But in the early 70s, the president of Russia became Leonid Brezhnev. And the president let, people more freely out. And a lot of people start to live in Russia. Freeness for the country. The people become more relaxed, become living a little bit better, but it was a huge corruption. We start to feeling changing what's going on in the country. Corruption was through the wall, from the bottom to the top, the government. It was very, very difficult to raise a family. And we decided to leave Russia and move to Israel. In about 2-3 weeks, I straight away found a job and went to working for manufacturer Tadiran, who was doing new refrigeration. In probably 2 months' time, I become supervisor there, and went a partner to a restaurant, small restaurant. This was a big thing. Particularly, I started playing with the top musicians in Israel, and applying all restaurants. And I become very much, again in favor, because I was singing songs for Vladimir Vysotsky, and people come to listening from all over the state. So I working very hard in the factory, play in the restaurant, have my own restaurant, and didn't scare to do anything what is possible to do. My main thing, I want to be in the entertainment industry. But Israel was a difficult and small place, and only Russian restaurants can accommodate me with my art. And we decided to moving overseas to Austria. When we moved to Austria, I didn't know nothing how we're gonna survive there. I just say, we go and I will do everything in my power to get you guys, my sons and my wife, what I think you deserve. We come to Austria. It was very difficult time as well. It was nearly winter. One day I was going home and we was living in the second Bezirk in Vienna. And I went and stopped to phone call to my wife. So I pick up the phone and I start to speak in Russian. And the gentleman who was standing behind me say, you speak German? I say, yes, I speak German. And you speak Russian? I say, yes, I speak Russian. Would you be in a movie? He say, we need, a Russian soldier in this, series. It's called Ringstrasse Palais. So we went and he say, will be the set here, and it was a full street, make it like after the World War II. And he say, you have to drive here from this corner to this corner, stay here. And can you speak loudly in Russian? I say, yes, of course. The lady will call you and ask you, can you wait for her? And you have to tell her something. I don't know, what are you going to tell her? I say, no problem.
Ich trag schnell rauf, weil die Taschen, die brauche ich. Wart's ein bisschen, ich komm gleich wieder. Хорошо?
У нас есть время. Да мы ждем.
So from that film, it's called Ringstrasse Palais, I moved to another film, it's called The God Does Not Believe in Us Anymore. It was a feature film, black and white, and Axel Corti was working on this, and he, took me to be a translator. Axel Corti noticed my, involvement, and I was actually every day on this set. I get very, close with Armin Müller-Stanley, and we had a chat, and he said to me, you want to stay in Austria? I say, I don't know. All right, Axel want me to go to Baden and study acting. Any other country you want to go? And I say, look, I'm looking to Australia. And he said to me, it's a very good country. It's a beautiful country. I've been to Australia. I love it. All right, if you will have a chance to getting to Australia, you will never regret it in your life. And I, seriously took it to my mind what maybe is the best thing for us to go to Australia. And we put it in application to Australia. So we get permission to come to Australia, 1981. On the day of our anniversary, we landed in Australia. Without language, speaking German and Russian, it was enough for me to working technical advisor in Philips service. In 1985, I opened my own appliances business. And by 1992, I went into a partnership with Ken Bruce.
Ken Bruce has gone completely mad!
But my passion for music never changed. I started to teaching music, and I start looking to set up a band. In 1995, I met Vitaly Baryshnikov, composer and producer. who just arrived from Moscow. Vitaly was a very, very talented man. And by the time I already written some songs in Russian, and I say, Vitaly, can you help me to do the arrangement for my CD, Destiny? In the same time, we started working on his CD, Feeling in Jazz, what I decided to produce and release. And then we start to working together.
Тем и интереснее всегда нам встреча с новым человеком, чья жизнь всегда имеет свежую воду, как в русле. А проще говоря, помимо обыкновенного постоянного занятия, он имеет дело, имеет хобби, которое и придает новый смысл и интерес жизни. Именно таким человеком нам и показался Александр Спектр, бизнесмен и автор-исполнитель. Жизнь его достаточно носила по свету, но последнее время, последние годы он живет здесь, в Австралии. Его песни, а музыку и слова он пишет сам, мне кажется, вызовут интерес и внимание не только у него самого, но и у его многочисленных слушателей. Вот почему мы хотим предложить вам несколько песен в авторском исполнении.
Загадай заветную мечту. Загадай, загадай.
And I decided it's time for me to moving on from my refrigeration business and coming to my dream, what I want to be in the music industry. I set up my own record label, AM Music, and I start to looking for the projects. In 1998, I put it in together a band and called them Fire in Love. It was 3 girls, very top artists from Bulgaria, Europe and Russia, with Vitaly Baryshnikov on keyboard. And we released a Yiddish CD, the second one. It's called Where is this Geselle? Where is this street? Dedicated to the people who was perished in the Holocaust.
Yes, yes, I love you too. I love you.
So we put it in a stage play, and we had, the play in National Theatre. We have a full venue for 700 people, and we enjoy the success of this production. I produced already 3 CDs, my CDs, the Yiddish CD and Vitaly Baryshnikov CD, Feeling in Jazz, and apply for stay Vitaly permanently in Australia. Without any hesitation, Vitaly was approved as distinguished talent and permit to take his family from Russia to Australia and start to working with me. I set up the company and we start to gigging. All the charity concert we start to playing, and we're pushing, towards recognition. I had some interview on the radio station, and I got from somebody a name, Paul Wilshire. Paul Wilshire was a producer, very well known in Australia. And Paul said to me, Alex, would you please come to the studio, because I'm working now with Michael Godinsky. So I came to Paul's studio, it was in Port Melbourne, and met Michael. Paul said to me, sit and have a listen. And I like how Paul was working. It's just fantastic. He said to me, maybe it will be good if you will hire office here in our offices. I say, yeah, not a problem. Say, we have a studio. Mike Brady is in the studio, and I will introduce you to Mike too. And Mike come, and we introduce each other, and straight away we get, a lot of in common together with Mike. And Mike, come from England to Australia, and he already had a big hit with the song Up.The. And Mike say, Alex, of course we have an office here. You can hire this office. And my son, Mark, had already finished university and was working in a law firm. So I say, Mark, why you need to work for somebody else? Let's go work with me. And we went and opened up, me, Paul, and Mark, In Records, a new company and a new name. In this time, we already was working on a band called Broke Downey, and Richard Gray was the director who gonna shoot the video clip for us, because Paul and me signed this band to Sony, or not signed it was in the process to sign it. And then we started producing other CDs, and then we started producing Relaxation CD, and we recorded with Paul together Sexual Rhythm CD. So we had product producing in my company. And then one music producer who bringing artists to Australia, Leonard Company, called me up and say, Alex, we got a phone from Jewish News, and they introduce you like an expert in Yiddish music. I gonna bring in to Australia Neil Sedaka, one of the first biggest name in the world in songwriting. I heard about Neil Sedaka, but I never met him. So I say, yeah, it will be nice. So he say, he'll be in a month here, and I will introduce you. So Neil come with his wife, and he would like me to producing and distributing 3 new CDs and produce the song in Australia. I didn't know what honestly to do, and Paul said to me, you have to get in touch with distribution companies. So I call Rocket Entertainment, I call some other companies, and they say, no problem. The ball started to rolling, and the company will start to expanding.
For Russian police and special forces, it's been an extremely tense but relatively quiet night as they continue to surround the school at the center of this hostage standoff.
In 2004, I came to my office, and we had on television and radio what in Russia terrorist organization went to the school and have 1,000 hostages.
The hostages have been herded into the school gymnasium, which has been booby-trapped with explosives.
I was devastated, and everybody in Australia was devastated. And I say, we need to do something. We need to organize fundraiser. Australian people, it's very given people, and everybody approach us and say, we would like to donate our time to do this concert. So we start to working with Mike closely, with all newspapers, particularly with Herald Sun. We had probably over 100 companies, top Australian stars, and we decided to do 2-way, a half Russian stars and a half Australian stars. And it was amazing how we have to say to some people, so I'm sorry, but first coming Jack Strong with Vanessa Marosi.
Looking out at the morning rain, ooh, I used to feel so uninspired.
Channel 7 Channel 9, SBS, say they will have, presenters on the show. We have Molly Meldrum. It was amazing, support to everybody. And then, Ellen Howe come and say, we secure the Meyer Music Ball. And even Steve Braggs, the Premier of Victoria, was involved in this project.
Well, could I add my welcome to the concert for Beslan? It is a unique opportunity tonight for Victorians to rally behind the survivors of the tragedy that unfolded in Russia earlier this year.
In a month's time, we put it together, a production, what it's, in a huge stage, All right, and I was proud what, we was going to do it.
Now, one of the most appealing things about Australia is its acceptance of migrants and the various cultural ideals that they pass on to this relatively new country. I'd like to welcome to the stage Alex Spector to say a few words to our Russian friends in the audience.
Thank you, Naomi. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Добрый вечер, уважаемые дамы.
The concert went for 4 hours, big concert. And, we had a huge success. And the project started to rolling in. I got a project to produce 8 karaoke CD for Lennox Company. This was a huge company, one of the first houses who brought to Australia karaoke players. And we written and recorded 8 karaoke CDs. And we make some big money. And I decided to build a studio. Paul Wilshire, myself, decided we need the studio now for our company. And this was a old, rundown studio here on this place. And the studio come up the top studio in Victoria, we say. And Paul was recording here everybody, starting from Australian Idol. Then we recorded Backstreet Boys and many, many more artists with big names here. And I become very much interested in filming. We decided we need to register a company, separate company for producing films and documentaries. So we registered in pictures. And because we need to do a lot of editing and a lot of, graphic design, we set up in digital in the same time. So now we have in digital, in pictures, in records, and we went strength to strength to getting more project, to doing in picture. And I become very much interested in developing stories.
Like most overnight successes,
First show was what I started developing, the song What Made Me Famous, with Mike Brady.
1979 is a story in itself. Let me tell it to you.
We shot the first episode, and I went with this show to Foxtel, and they sent us to Ovation. And Ovation said, we're going to produce the show. We like it.
I wrote a song and recorded it in this recording studio nearly 30 years ago. One song, and bang, I'm famous. And it changed
In the
my
meantime, I start to produce different shows. I start to working with Ellen Zawod and Ellen Kagasowski.
Absolutely. Thanks.
I start to working different show with producing a documentary, Anzacs from Russia, what I produced by myself.
The assassination of an Austrian archduke on a fine summer's day in Sarajevo was the shot that started the greatest war the world had ever seen.
A lot of projects went and a lot of music was played. And at the same time, I had my grandchildren coming up, Jay Spector and Remy Spector. And Mark was proud father of two now. We was working and producing many shows, many relaxation CDs, many concerts, many what it's impossible even to remember now. We was working with biggest companies in Australia in the music industry and television films. We was very much recognized company in Australia. And I was on the top of the world.
Handpicked underdogs will live, train, and compete to become a champion.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the National Theatre.
Big round of applause, everyone. And the winner is L'Amore.
I'm very proud to be Australian. I'm very proud to achieve in my life, in the music industry, a small place. And Australia gave me the opportunity to do and make whatever I want. You cannot choose a country of your birth, but if it's not this country what support you and help you, and you in any stage of your life like to immigrate to another country, we live in a free world. If you have a dream to achieve something, my dearest advice to people who would like to immigrate to any other country, you have to think one thing. First of all, leave the old bad things, what you have from your country of birth over there. Don't take with you, because the new country have a different point of view. I immigrate from 4 countries. In every country, I start from the beginning and not afraid to start anything new. Use your imagination. Do what you wanted with enthusiasm and feeling, and you will succeed in this country.
Ей, ти глей слеху на рекла їм, ломір